Sticks and stones, feathers and bones, using the energy of nature in your magic.
Enter a world of enchantment, of enlightenment, Meg's Magical Mansion.
Come, whoever you are, to Meg's Magical Mansion, a virtual guest house for spiritual wayfarers, a place where the ordinary becomes magical, where wisdom is yours for the asking, and where your higher nature is just a wish away. Thanks for joining me here today at the Magical Mansion. I'm here with my beautiful assistant, Miss Alice Cooper. And today we are talking about using animal energy in your magic. Sticks and stones, feathers and bones, and some shells and flowers thrown in as well. And we're going to talk about how to ask permission and say thank you before you take things from nature. And also how you can use different items you find in nature in your magic. You guys don't have to go out and bust the bank on a lot of stuff and fancy things. There's stuff right around you that you can use to make magic that is plenty powerful. So let's take a look. I do love utilizing natural items in my witchcraft. Everything from nature, whether it was once alive or whether it was not, carries energy. All of the items that I have and use that came originally from nature or out of my nature walks, all of them carry an energy, and it's an important energy. That's why it's so helpful and beneficial in your magic. And you can't just go around taking things in life. You don't walk into a store and just take things, I hope, or into someone's home and just take their stuff without their permission. So I do believe it's important when you are taking items from nature that you ask permission. And if you don't feel in your heart that you have received that permission, you should not take that item. So you have to really key into your senses and tap into your inner heart, your psychic abilities. We all have them. Some of us just are able to read energy more quickly than others, but everyone can read energy. So if you see a stick or a stone or a shell or something out in nature, flowers you want to pick, before you pick them, ask if it's okay. Ask in your heart, is it good for me to take this? Is this something that wants to come home with me? And be patient and listen. And if in your heart you feel that this item or these things belong to you or want to be with you or want to come with you, then take them. And if you get a funny feeling that maybe you shouldn't disturb things because nature has its own balance, and sometimes it's best to leave it be. And if you get a funny feeling that you need to leave this be, just leave it be. Don't mess with it, leave it alone. So I'm a big believer in asking permission before I take something from nature. And of course, I'm also a big believer in saying thank you very much when I do take something. So if you pick up a rock or a shell or pick a flower, find room in your heart for a little bit of extra gratitude towards that item, towards nature for giving you that beautiful item, and really appreciate with deep gratitude these items, these things you collect from nature that you then can utilize in your witchcraft. So there's my little soapbox about why it is important to ask permission before you take things, and why it is also important to say thank you. Let's have some good manners when we're dealing with nature. Now, on to the topic at hand, and we're going to talk about some of my favorite things that I've collected from nature and why I like them and how I use them. First of all, let's start with sticks. Sticks are very helpful. You can use sticks to make a lot of fun things. Sticks are great for stirring up your witch's brew pot. I do a lot of little crafty shapes like pentacles, and I love this old Norse protection symbol. I utilize it so much that if the universe sees me using this symbol, the universe knows immediately I'm asking for protection. So this is a symbol that I associate personally with protection. But you can use something as simple as a spiky, thorny branch. I enjoy making magical tools using sticks and things that I've found on my little walks, and I don't really live in the forest. I find a lot of my things in the parks or on my travels. But my magical wand has a stick from a live oak tree that I just picked up on a walk and used it as the base for my magical wand. And while this is not quite a stick, we do have naturally growing grapevines here in Florida, and I like to collect them and make little wreaths out of them. I use them in spell work, I use them for little crafty things. They're very useful, and the wreath is the perfect example of the never-ending circle of life. It's a great representation for that in any kind of spells or things that you're doing. Now let's talk about stones. I'm really into stones. I love them, and often when I'm out on my travels or adventures, I like to try to collect a stone or a shell from a place that I've been to help me bring a little bit of the energy of that place home with me. So here are some of my favorite stones, and some of them I've been given, some of them I've had a long time. A lot of them I've just collected. Here's one my son got from a riverbed up in the Smoky Mountains. And this one is a big rock that I collected off the shore of Lake Superior in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And you can use stones, of course, in a variety of ways. We have a lot of gemstones around here. I know a lot of you also collect and use crystals and gems, and that's great if you can afford them. I very rarely buy stones. I don't think I've really purchased any of the stones here. I'm either gifted them or I've just had them for so long, I honestly don't remember where I got a lot of my crystals. The crystals you see here on my altar, these large clear quartz ones, I've had these for over 30 years, so I don't even remember how I got them. But as I said, most of my stones have been gifted to me. I'm a big believer in sharing, giving, gifting of stones. And if you do purchase stones and you're in a shop, a crystal shop, I do like to walk around and talk to the stones and hold them in my hand and really ask which one would like to come home with me or be a gift for someone I'm purchasing it for. And so I think about the person and I'm like, oh, who would like to be a stone for my friend? And I think about my friend and I pick up the stones till I find the one that I really feel in my gut wants to come home with me. So I think it's perfectly okay to purchase your gems and your stones, but I do believe you should kind of hold them, look at them, feel them, and check the energy. I don't like to mail order gemstones. I did one time and it took me forever to connect to that crystal. So I really don't do that anymore. I need to be with them, hold them, talk to them, feel them, and gather their energy and make sure that they want to come home with me. Again, it comes to the idea of asking permission, and then be grateful. The energy of stones makes them wonderful conduits for divination. And of course, runes and pendulums are two of the most popular ways that you can use gems and stones to aid you in your divination. And kind of in the same topic as stones, I'm going to also talk a little bit about shells, because I have collected a few shells. Here are some shells I collected in Costa Rica, probably over 30 years ago. And yes, even back then I asked permission before I took them. I use my shells to keep my altar not as messy as it often ends up being. You can use shells in a lot of great ways. They carry wonderful energy of the creature that once lived in them, of the ocean that tumbled them about. So I love shells, and here's an olive shell that I collected on the beach in Mozambique. Great things to pick up on your travels, stones and shells. And I'm going to say one more thing about stones. You can take the most ordinary stone in the world, and with the right incantations and magical infusing of your intentions, you can turn the most ordinary stone into a very powerful talisman that you can carry and take with you everywhere. And now we're going to get into feathers and feather magic. I love when I find a feather on the ground. I always view that as a symbol, like the universe is sending me a message. And I often, if I get the right permission, I often pick it up and bring it home with me. And I find that the colors of feathers symbolize certain things to me. Now, they may or may not to you, but to me, if I find a white feather, I automatically think about hope, trust, purification, faith, spirituality, things like that. If I see a gray feather, to me that symbolizes neutrality, harmony, balance, inner peace, flexibility. Black feathers can mean warning of a repelling nature. They can be of a protective nature, some sort of mystical wisdom. And oftentimes you find like a mixed feather that has black, gray, white, mixed in some way. And to me, those symbolize home, balance, and harmony. So as you're walking along, if you find feathers, you can think about what that might mean for you. There are other meanings for more colorful feathers, but I seem to find that where I live, I mostly find white, black, or gray or mixed feathers. I don't find a lot of very colorful feathers here. Occasionally, I might find a red feather from a cardinal, which is good fortune, vitality, courage, and sort of your life force. So I'm always kind of excited if I find a red feather. Feathers have been important symbols for many cultures throughout the history of Earth, going back to our indigenous cultures all over the Earth. Particularly for me, living in America, I know Native American cultures have made very elaborate and important headdresses using feathers to symbolize certain things about what you've accomplished, what your rank in your tribe might be. So feathers carried a lot of significance in Native American tribes and in a lot of indigenous tribes all over the world. Feathers have been used to decorate and ornament our bodies, our fashion, and our clothing and ourselves throughout human history. So I find it's very, very powerful to put the force and the energy of feathers to help uplift me with the idea of flight and being airborne. So whenever I find a feather laying around on the ground, I'm always very motivated to ask permission to please be able to take that home. And as you can see, I have some feathers on my altar. And now finally we come to bones. Now I understand this is not something for everybody. If you are not into using bones of other creatures or even like the leftover remains of insects, I often find dried butterflies or dragonflies have a lot of energy, very useful. So I understand this might not be for everyone. And you know what? If that's not for you, don't do it. Do the things in your magical life that really resonate with you. But for me and for my son in our practice, we do use bones and some of the remains of once living creatures. I think they carry a lot of energy. My son in particular has done a lot of work with things like this. Here's one of his little possum jaw bones. Now, if you want to collect odd bones and things like this, I suggest you deal with a reputable oddities dealer or go to a fair. Parfait and I are going to be going to an oddities fair next month and hopefully bringing you some exciting information from the oddities fair and some weird stuff. But I'd suggest that you find people who are, trained at dealing with the remains of animals. It's not always safe to do so, so don't try to be dealing with hauling dead roadkill home and, boiling it down or any of that stuff. There's plenty of reliable sources for you if you want to work with bones. For example, whenever I eat a chicken, I try to save the wishbone. And of course, Miss Alice Poopers loves chicken, so we end up eating chicken quite a bit. And over the years, I've collected a lot of wishbones. I use them in all kinds of spells and different things. I'm whipping up potions. I also Sometimes just see somebody needs to make a wish and we can use the wishbones and make a wish. So that's one easy way you can bring bones into your life is, just keep the wishbone out of your chicken. That's not a hard thing to do. You don't have to go to the full lengths that we do. You don't have to keep a bat in a glass box on your shelf, but some of us like to do that. Again, in this department, please be extremely careful what you're picking up and taking home. You don't want to be handling stuff that you're finding laying out and about. It's best if you really want some interesting and odd things to get them professionally treated, cleaned, and prepared for you. Then go to the store, go to the shop, go to the fair, look at all the bones, and ask which ones would like to come home with you. I'm not a big recommender that unless you are trained in taxidermy or in this sort of work that you try to take this on yourself. But I do enjoy working with these types of energies. And I'm going to throw one last little bit in about flowers, because I do dry and use a lot of flowers in my magic. It's very easy to do. I just hang the flowers upside down. They dry beautifully. I can use them in a lot of different ways. I can use them decoratively. The ones I get from the supermarket, I do not put in anything edible because I don't know if they've been treated with insecticides or dyes or anything else. So the ones I get from the supermarket, I will put in things that will not be ingested. I will use them in decorative ways as well. But if I want to use flowers in something I'm going to drink, like a tea or something medicinal, I try to buy food-grade quality flowers, which you can usually order online. They're not hard to find. So just beware if you're doing flower magic. Make sure if you're ingesting flowers that you're getting ones that are food-grade quality, so they'll actually be good for you and not harmful. So there's a little bit of a look at how I use sticks and stones and feathers and bones and, yes, even some flowers. And please remember the most important point about utilizing these items and taking the energy from them is that you have asked permission and you have expressed gratitude for having this item, for being able to use it in your magical life. Whether you use it in a decorative sense, some of these things I just keep on my altar. Whether you use it in a spell or in some other way, make sure the universe is cool with you doing it. Good luck out there, and remember, there's a lot of magic to be found. You don't have to spend money. Just look around you. It's right there in nature. All you have to do is ask permission. Well, there you have it. A little bit about using nature in your magic. And yes, I'm going to say something about fur. And I know this is a hot button topic, but I do use and wear fur in my practice. I don't really do it as much for a fashion thing, but I did grow up in a family where my mom's side of the family lived up in the Great North Woods, and she grew up during the Depression, and she did wear fur coats, not because her family was rich, but because they literally trapped furs to make money to put food on the table, and it was cheaper for her to have a fur coat than to go out and buy one. These are 2 pieces of red fox that my grandfather trapped back probably in the 30s or 40s. So these are 2 pieces that I really treasure, and I do use fur as one of my animal energy items in my practice. And if you do not feel comfortable using fur, guess what? Don't do it. That's the key to chaos magic. If you like something and it resonates with you, use it. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. If you are not into using animal energy, don't. You can go pick wildflowers or do other things with nature. Focus on the sticks and stones. You don't have to focus on the fur and the bones. But for those of you that do, please remember to do it with honor and gratitude and with permission. Now, I didn't get to ask permission for these animals, but I will say something I know about my family members, that all of them who live that lifestyle. I had a cousin who was a very high-level professional taxidermist. These people really did live the life, and they hunted for things that they ate. It was important and helped put food on the table in an area where there was not a lot of opportunities for employment. And being a woodsman or woods person, because I had female relatives that were out there hunting and trapping as well. But this was a way of life, and it was a way to put food on the table. You could sell furs back then for a lot of money back in the 30s and 40s. So I just want to say that while I did not get to ask permission of these foxes, I do know that my relatives who lived that life had a true reverence for the land that they lived off of and treated it with a great deal of respect. So I feel that these kind of came down to me through my mom to me in an inherited way. So I feel the universe sent them to me. Now, again, if using any of these items we've talked about today doesn't resonate with you, doesn't work for you, don't do it. And don't worry if other people choose to do it. Not your business. Your business is finding the things that resonate with you. And I hope today you found something here, some sticks or stones or feathers or bones that you can work into your magical life. And remember, in the words of Buddha, 1,000 candles can be lit by a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. So thank you for sharing your time and attention with us here today at Meg's Magical Mansion. And until next time, goodbye, fluffy girl. Oh, she's warm in her fur.